Hey, it's Sebastian from the Metal Gods Meltdown, and I have the honour to be joined by
Michael Schenker.
It's great to be chatting to you today. Universal has been out a short while. It's riding high in the charts worldwide. How pleased are you with the responses so far?
Yeah, great. It's like we haven't really been playing, but interviews. Playing the new album live. But the interviews, people who have interviewed me, they all like it, and the people, the responses are great.
Wrecking Ball is my favourite track today. Which one would you say is yours?
Well, I love the A King Has Gone. It's a really good song.
That was the question next. You've probably been asked this a lot already, but it pays homage to the great Ronnie James Dio. What do you think he would have made of that particular song?
Well, it's regardless if it's about him or if it was about something else, but it's the song itself. I think he would have liked it.
I'm an absolute huge fan of Ronnie Romero. I saw him playing with Rainbow exactly today, 2 years ago. How crazy is that? He's an immense talent. When did you first get to know about his work?
Yeah, it was like when we did the Revelation album, Michael Schenker Fest, and we were coming up to a fast double bass drum part. It was the last thing we were going to work on, and we were kind of under time pressure to get the album ready for mix, and so everybody was spread out, all the singers, Los Angeles and Bangkok and so on, and it was a fast double bass drum. We haven't had an experience to have the MSG singers work something out, and so Michael Frost suggested to try this guy who was singing for Richie Blackmore, and I said, okay, because he knew and had worked with him, and so he called him up, and they started working on the song, and they got it done in the same day. And so that's when I first knew about him. And then when we were getting ready for Japan, Michael Schenker, we put him on a hold in case Graham Bonnet wasn't doing too well, and he was going to replace Graham Bonnet for a big Japan tour. And so then of course all of that got cancelled. And but then we did the Immortal album, and then Ronnie was singing a lot of stuff on that one. And now at Universal, he did almost all of the songs, with the exception of two, I guess. And and so he's kind of stuck with us.
He's absolutely brilliant, and of course you'll be heading out on tour with him as well, so that's going to be epic. But I want to go back to the album. I understand you had a lot of input into everything, even the album cover this time as well. Is this one of your favourite album covers ever?
I don't know. I mean, it's just like it's a sketch that I had from the previous, it was actually inspired by William Shatner, Captain Kirk from Star Trek, who was actually speaking on my first Temple of Rock album, 10 years ago. But it was a suitable thing that actually my record company in those days, they wanted to use the pyramid thing, and so I put it away. But I had a little sketch that my web guy was putting it together to make it look good, and so I showed it to my record company, and when I was recording for the Universal album, I remembered that sketch, and so I showed it to the record company, and they liked it, and then of course and they changed it around a bit, and then the title itself, of course, suggests itself by looking at the album cover, Universal, and that was it.
Excellent. You head out on a massive tour in September. How important is it for you still to hit the stage as much as you can?
Well, I'm just used to doing that, do the recording, then do the touring, do the recording, do the touring, and, each one has a different flavors to enjoy, and it's a nice change to get done with the studio and then do the live shows, and then after touring a lot live, it's nice to go back in the studio and do that.
Universal, obviously, it's going to be hard to choose a set list because there's so many songs to choose from, but how many are you hopeful to get from the new album to play live?
Yeah, I just can make sure I don't repeat myself too much from the last tours. Like this time, I mean, every time I do a tour, I mean, not every time I promote a new album, I stick with a new list. But I made a new list that, add some songs that people wanted to hear in the past, but I didn't have the space for them. And so eventually, I can put them all in as whatever hasn't been put in on this tour will be put in on the next tour. And so I always have some fresh songs that people always wanted to hear but never got them in. And so I make sure that the album is that the live set is well balanced and with old classics and new classics and old. And some new songs, etc., etc. Make sure it doesn't get too boring.
Sadly, many of our icons are no longer here. What do you think the future of rock and metal will look like in years to come?
Oh, I have no clue because I'm not really part of the machine itself. I'm devoted to pure self-expression. I don't really look at the machine, what it means and what it is, etc. I just over all these 50 years, my focus was always on, not going by the trend or copying the trend or whatever. And it was always self-expression. I wanted to do it the way I see it, and that is the most fun part, to go within and always come up with something that feels like this is what I want to express. And so I'm not really connected and don't really know. Actually don't even know what the machine is today, to be honest, because I don't connect to that. I just simply do what I love to do, and if other people like it as well, then that's icing on the cake.
Yeah, been in the business for over 50 years, so what do you put your longevity down to then? Is it what you've just sort of said?
Yeah, that's in my 50 years, I just did, first part, of course, in the beginning, I developed very fast. You can hear it step by step from Phenomenon to Faucet to No Heavy Petting, etc. And then, after Strangers in the Night and Love Drive, I was ready to experiment with music and declined a lot of offers from Ozzy Osbourne, Deep Purple, and Whitesnake, and Motorhead, and so on. And just did in the beginning, I actually started to have my own band, the Michael Schenker Group. So that was one step in the right direction. And then later on, I dropped out of the scene completely in the 90s and beginning of 2000 till 2005, 6 or 7. I had my own recording studio, and I, completely dropped out of the machine. I was not even. I don't even think people knew I was still there. I mean, I left the planet so far in my orbit. I was in a completely different world, and I did a lot of stuff like acoustic instrumentals, electric instrumentals, cover versions, doing albums from one riff to another, so much stuff. And, for 15 years, and then I went back, put one leg in the machine in the midst of beauty with Gary Barden in 2008 or so. And then 2010, the 25th anniversary or 30th anniversary of MSG Live with Simon Phillips, and and kind of put myself back onto the scene, from then on, 2008 until now, slowly but surely. And then then more recent, I got an offer from Nuclear Blast, and I put both my legs in the machine, and now I'm in it.
Well, we're going to keep on the machine theme then. If you could step into a time machine, what part of your career would you return to?
Oh, not really any, because I like to move forward. I mean, what is done is done. I don't like to repeat or, to re-experience. It's no point. I mean, that's what life is for, is to move forward and experience what I experienced. That leads me to the next experience, I find it a little bit of, the life is already designed to re-experience, but not exactly the same way it used to be, but similar. maybe redigest and make have some new perspective of life. Things that I have learned throughout the years, and so there are some things I re-experience, but very differently than it used to be because of it's a different now, a different time, and so. But it's good for understanding what one has learned, etc., etc. And but I just like to keep moving forward.
What would you like Michael Schenker to be remembered for in 100 years' time?
Well, as a spirit on a mission, spreading the joy of music from a place of pure self-expression.
Do you have any final words for your fans and our listeners?
Keep on rocking!